turned on Al Jazeera, and my husband was watching it too, and we were looking at the image of a baby being held by her mother in sweet little pajamas that said, "I love you, Mom," on it. And my husband commented, "That's who Israel is fighting, these babies. Look at her shirt," he said. "It says, 'I love you, Mom,' on it." And it just like made me break down and cry, because I just can't even fathom how people can murder innocent children, men and women, with no regard. And I feel like I'm in a Delulu world where everything is just so backwards and all of our leaders are murderers. And why is the United States putting this stain on its already racist history? Like, haven't we done enough when we didn't have civil rights, when we had slavery? Do we really want to portray ourselves this way as the United States and the Western world? It's just mind-boggling, and I just sometimes can't handle the feelings of how much rage and grief and sadness I have. Sometimes I can't even cry because I'm just in shock of these images that we see every day of little kids with blood pouring out of their faces, and all these kids with no limbs and no parents and have unimaginable trauma. There's no even term like PTSD. There's no post-traumatic anything. It's just traumatic, constant traumatic stress syndrome. It should be CTSD for the people of Gaza. When the United States and the Western world backs up Israel the way that they're doing, they're sending a message to all Arabs who live in their nation. They're saying, "We don't care about you. You're nothing. You're scum. And if your land has resources on it that we need, you're expendable to us." And the United States is also making it really hard for Arabs to feel safe in this country. Like, if I walk around with these earrings and somebody doesn't like it, like some crazy white supremacist or somebody that's insane comes around and like sees this and he decides that I'm a terrorist and shoots me in the head, that's very possible. Look at the 3 young men that got shot by a crazy white supremacist. And the United States doesn't realize that they're creating this fear amongst the public by backing up Israel the way that they do. They're sending a message that we hate Palestinians and they deserve to die. That is what our government is doing. Of course, it's not just Palestinians, it's all Arabs that are receiving this prejudice. Islamic people especially. It's really unfair because the Islamic people that I've seen throughout this genocide are kind and wonderful people who have beautiful faith and care about each other. And my family are Palestinian Christians, and it is just absolutely atrocious for me as a Palestinian with a Christian upbringing to see how the Christians act towards Palestinians in this country. I've asked so many of my friends on social media or brought it up in person or over text to see what they're doing to the Palestinian Christians, like how they spit on them and pull on their clothes and like ask them to cover up their crosses and beat them and things like that. And if you ask a lot of people in the United States if they care about what's going on in Gaza, the response is just abysmal. Like, hardly any of my friends even know what's going on, or even if I've talked to them about it, it's not a big deal to them because it's not happening to them. And I don't understand why, as humanity, we don't have humanity for others. It doesn't make sense. It's awful, and we need to change that to have a better future, or we're just going to kill each other. This entire planet is going to get used up for all its resources, and there will be nothing left for people, and we will just kill each other into non-existence. Western Christianity doesn't even begin to resemble actual Christianity whatsoever, and this country has proven that because they have been brainwashed by Zionism to believe that if you want to go to heaven and if you want Jesus to come back, well, then you better stand with Israel, because those words have been twisted around and those biblical references are used not in the way that Jesus would ever want them to be used. And it's just awful the way that Zionists can't break out of this mentality of us versus them. It's like, we have to get Jesus to come back. The second coming has to happen. So we have to support Israel at any cost, and never mind if we're just slaughtering thousands of people and trying to erase a whole entire identity off of the planet. The way I see it is that the two groups are using each other. So Zionists are using Christians so that they can have all the Western backing and the money to slaughter Palestinians. So win for them, so they can take over the entire nation and not have any Palestinians in their sight whatsoever. And then on the other side of it, the Christians are using the Zionists because all they care about is the fact that Jesus is going to have the second coming. If we have all the Jews in the same place, like the Bible says, then Jesus will come back, and never mind that 2/3 will die and 1/3 will be converted to Christianity. So both groups are in it for themselves completely, and nothing about either group resembles any sort of religious morality whatsoever, because the true religions, both Judaism and Christianity, are all about goodness and kindness. Right now I feel like a useless human because I'm sitting in my house making this video with lots of water and food and warmth and electricity, and the people in Gaza have none of that. Every part of their humanity has been ripped from them, and even though their spirits are still alive and they're trying to fight against this, it is just feeling so heavy and so dark, and we need a ceasefire now. I know we can sit there and hem and haw about this ICJ trial and what it means, like if it's a win or not, and what really matters is that the people stop getting killed, because while they're waiting for their 1-month period to receive information from Israel proving that they're not committing genocide, people are dying every day. I think over 130 people died in the last 24 hours in Gaza. They're literally being corralled to the border where Khan Yunis is, and in Rafah rather, and this small area houses 1.7 million people right now who are in tents, that are getting flooded without food, water, or electricity, and what we need is a ceasefire now. There was no difference when I used to read books about the Holocaust and them rounding up people in a concentration camp and then killing them. And this is exactly the same thing to me, because they're just in a small area, they're being rounded up and being killed, they're being sniped and bombed and starved. What is the difference? There's no difference between the Holocaust and what is going on today in Gaza, and we need a ceasefire now. At this point, I'm just praying for a miracle every day. I'm asking God to please stop what's going on, and I'm asking even our representatives around the world that are doing awful things, I'm praying for them too, even though it is really hard to see them in that light, and I'm not all light and love, and sometimes I am filled with hatred and rage for them, but at the end of the day, I think they need some prayers to come to their senses that they should have humanity, and we should all have humanity, because we need to save the world from the evil that is going on right now, and we need to